And the travels of Hanok Young continue. As you can see, he's still in the same place, the nation of Texas. Are they not going to let you out? They're going to keep you
Actually,
there?
in a couple of hours, I'm flying to Colorado,
Oh, okay. All
Rocky
right.
Mountain
So
High.
you go from hot to hot, and yeah, it's a little on the warm side out there, isn't it?
I don't know, but it was 114 here last week, so I don't know if Colorado's going to be that bad.
Yeah. So this is kind of like guiding at Masada.
Except with humidity.
Yeah.
It's like there's no more dry heat, it's humidity.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, hey, I noticed that somewhere, at least we're going to say closer to the Temple Mount, in the old city. Where else? Where else in the world, Hanok, can you try to put it in an elevator and find a bathtub?
Yeah. Just to fill in our listeners,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, you might want to explain that one, Lucy.
yeah. As you go from the Jewish quarter down towards the Western Wall,
Mm-hmm.
there's that staircase where the menorah built by the Temple Institute used to stand.
Yeah,
The reason they moved that up to the Hurva Square is because they're building an elevator to give the elderly and handicapped access to the Western Wall without having to go down all those stairs. It's a wonderful project.
mm-hmm. Or
But of
tired
course,
tourists that are just at the end of their day, right?
yeah, that's to come back up. So yeah, we been there, done that.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is, of course, in Israel, wherever you dig, you have to do a salvage excavation. You've got to see what's there.
Yeah.
And as they were poking around, they found yet another mikveh from the late Second Temple period. Um, and I don't know how they're gonna go around that one, but they will work out something. Um, it is interesting. Someone recently had mentioned that like, oh, are you going to talk about the latest archaeological find? More than 100 mikvaot, ritual baths, have been found in the area around the Temple Mount.
Wow.
More than 100. In other words, they've stopped counting, or at least stopped announcing it. So, which is not at all surprising,
Mm-hmm.
because we immersed before entering the temple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really straightforward. You'd expect to find them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not like hair on fire. Look what we found. How they'll work around that is what interests me. In the same way that all the publicity every once in a while that they're going to build this I lost the word,
English.
not a monorail. Um, what did we have at Masada? What is that called?
Tram.
That's a tram?
Uh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a tram.
Okay. Well, the thing that goes
Cable
up in
car.
the air.
Okay, in simple terms, a cable car.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
anytime. That's
Okay.
just what I'm here
So,
for.
you know,
Helping you with English.
yeah, it's funny. Having grown up in the Bronx, I tell people, I'm not a native English speaker. And they say, like,
Neither
what
am
do you
I.
mean? I grew up in the Bronx, and like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, gotcha. Yo, what's up?
Yeah.
Um, the idea of building a cable car that will go to the old city, not in the direction that we walk via Jaffa Gate,
Mm-hmm.
but across. I've seen so many artists' renderings of where it's supposed to be. I'm more of the type of person now where I say, when it's finished, show it to me.
Yeah, yeah, because there's been so many different things. A cable car that what like a tourist event, what are we turning into Disney or something?
There are people that did complain about that. If you think of the area from the Mount Zion Hotel,
Okay. Okay.
where there had been a cable car, a small one,
Yeah.
that had been used to get supplies to the Jewish garrison on Mount Zion when, in the aftermath of our War of
Yeah.
Independence. Anyway,
Okay. Okay.
that remains to be seen.
Okay.
Switching gears.
Hey, wait a minute.
uh, yeah,
I've been meaning to ask you this for weeks, and I was meaning to ask somebody while I was in Israel, and of course I was hobbling along, so I wasn't really thinking a lot. When you leave the Rova at Moshe and Dove's store, and you're
yes,
going down toward the Temple Mount and those stairs we're talking about, there was on the left is the ice cream store and burger bar and things like that. There's a huge construction project. What is that?
okay,
How
that
I
is,
how I was there for days and never asked, I don't know.
well, it's a good thing that your good pal, Shock, that would be me, knows this stuff. So, that is the rebuilding of Tiferet Yisrael, a synagogue that was destroyed by the Jordanians, as
Oh,
all of them in the Jewish Quarter were.
yeah.
It's an entire, it in its original was an entire story higher than the Chorva synagogue.
Oh, okay.
Now, as you've noticed, it's a very narrow area.
Mm-hmm.
But if you, again, as you're coming into the Rova, and you walk down the steps over the Cardo,
Mm-hmm.
and you begin walking in, right as you're entering the square, if you stop and look up, you will now see the gray dome of Tiferet Yisrael being rebuilt.
Okay.
It's actually really cool. It's
Wow.
a real part of the restoration. And I'm thrilled that instead of just another memorial of ruins,
Mm-hmm.
as had been, it's going to be a big functioning Beit Knesset again.
Wow. That's cool. That's cool. Okay. Well, thanks. I finally got that figured out. So
Sure.
moving on.
Yeah. Well, Israel has survived the visit. Mr. Biden comes to Jerusalem. Um, and what's interesting is, the other day when I was speaking in another location, um, a question came up about, relating to Zionism. It,
Mhm.
it actually was focused on, why are there people in the Hebrew roots and Messianic movement who are not Zionist, quote unquote. And the real question is, why don't they support Israel? And the short answer to that is, well, they're obviously not Torah keepers, despite what they call themselves. But what was interesting was there were a few people in the audience who kind of raised their hand and said, can you define Zionism?
Yeah. That'd
And
be an
and and
interesting.
and and it's interesting. There are certain things that we, or I certainly, take for granted. Now, Zionism is actually really, really simple. The concept: the land of Israel belongs to the people of Israel.
Mhm.
Boom, drop the microphone.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that even amongst Israel supporters, or people who feel that they support Israel, they seem mystified by the term, which again means that people in general need to educate themselves a bit more, um, because neither you nor I, or people like us, can go around and start every presentation with every basic bit of, sort of all the building blocks. You've
Mhm.
got to start somewhere. And I do encourage people to, we both say this all the time, watch the news from Israel. Don't just come up with something. But anyway, let's get back to Biden. So those who had anticipated, the earthquake of his pronouncements in Israel, um, y'all can rest easy. He said nothing about nothing. Um, there were some symbolic things which were, as we say in Aramaic, no bueno, not good at all.
Mhm.
The removal of the Israeli flag
Yeah,
from his limousine.
that was a major statement to me.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The visiting what is referred to as East Jerusalem.
Mhm.
Of course, he went to, chum around with the dictator of the so-called Palestinian Authority.
Mhm.
But what was interesting was, I guess, when pressed on the issue of quote unquote peace negotiations
Mhm.
between Israel and the Palestinian Authority, even Biden admitted that this is not the time
Mhm.
for that.
He admitted it, but at the same time, he showed, or at least he spoke support for.
Yeah,
I'm committed to, and the Palestinians have a right, and that yada yada yada. The same old speech that has been. Yeah, I don't think he has a clue anyway of what's going on.
no.
Probably would not have known that there was a flag on the hood of the car to begin with. But
It wasn't, he didn't make that decision.
yeah,
That's the State Department.
yeah,
Those are the people,
oh, yeah.
those are the puppeteers.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still supposedly, the
Yeah,
president does what he wants to do, but he wouldn't have known the difference. The what I was watching for is just his statement regarding, yes, we are still committed to this, because anybody that's done that, things have not gone well. Just the basic statement, even if you don't understand what you're saying, things don't go well for a person that says it.
right. What's interesting, and just yesterday, or just as I was about to go to sleep, or something like whatever, just a few hours ago, I did see, I did read that comment that Nikki Haley had made about, if the US signs a deal with Iran, that the next president will tear it up during her first day in office.
She was probably talking about Sarah Palin.
I don't know, but for my beloved friends in America, that should have at least lifted your spirits
Yeah,
momentarily.
yeah.
What's fascinating is the fact that the two-state solution, which could affectionately be known as the two-state delusion, is a concept that is totally unworkable.
Mhm.
You're talking about removing, God forbid, 500 plus thousand Jews from Judea and Samaria to create a state for a nation that has never existed in the history of the world.
Mhm.
And there is no one on the Arab side, the so-called Palestinian side, that is pushing this. No
No,
one.
no,
That's the thing
because
that's fascinating.
yeah,
It's an American European
mhm.
fantasy, and that way there'll be peace, like the Saudis. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, and this is great. Biden, I saw a great meme. Biden is standing there, in the reception line with the Saudi royalty, and he's got a big gas can,
Oh yeah, I saw that
in
one.
his
Yeah,
hand. That was great.
yeah,
Yeah, the Saudis are not increasing production. They're not going to help America out.
yeah.
And I guess all of the human rights things that America has accused the Saudis of, which they're guilty, absolutely, came back to bite America in the behind.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Let's go back to this two state. There's no one in the Palestinian Authority that's looking for a two-state solution. Their only solution is one state,
And it's
and
them.
that is a state of Palestine, uh, with no Jews allowed to be there. That's
No,
it.
that's it.
I mean, there's no negotiation of that statement. Okay. Now, here's the other side of this: is that you're talking about 500,000 plus Jews in Judea, Samaria that remember Gaza. You know, the telltale sign of this is that as soon as Biden was wheeled back onto Air Force One, that there were 4 rockets that came out of Gaza.
Yeah.
You know, that shows you how much respect they have there. So this is very similar. I've used this analogy for many years, that Gaza was like going into, maybe somewhere in New York and taking over, part of the city. They're like, oh, okay, whatever, and they just, it's tragic, but then you have Judea and Samaria. This is like going into the nation of Texas, and saying we're going to take over, and they say, yeah, remember the Alamo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not happening. This is
No.
not happening. This would be, these are people, they're not going anywhere.
It's just it's amazing how many bright people there are in the United States and in the European Union, and they just cannot see the trees from the forest. It's really astounding. I mean, because they have no other solution. They continue to fund the so-called Palestinian Authority when they still create textbooks for children that describe Jews as the descendants of apes and monkeys, and glorify terrorists as martyrs, and continue to pay the so in other words, if I'm in a failing business and I go out and kill a Jew, the Palestinian Authority would pay my family. I mean, that's like the ultimate life insurance policy.
Oh yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and it's their culture. It's their culture.
Tragedy is paid with American money, American and Israeli money that's going into the coffers of these people. It's insanity on numerous levels.
Right.
So, is it going to change? Probably not. You say, that there are these intelligent people. I would probably differ with you on that statement, because really they're about as stupid as they come. But here's the problem, and this is where it comes from. If you don't have a biblical worldview, and this is a survey that's just been done not too long ago by Barna, which is a Christian-based polling organization. Barna went, and I think they polled like 1,000 pastors and youth leaders and all this stuff, and found out that somewhere around 38% of the senior pastor staff at churches believed in a biblical worldview. Now, what does that mean? Okay, we could kind of take that apart on a number of levels, but pretty much it meant the scripture is meaningless. What was even more tragic is that it was only 1 in 10 youth leaders, and I'm not quoting exactly the poll, okay? So give me a little, go online and look at it.
Okay.
1 in 10 youth leaders had a biblical worldview.
That has been the trend. Even organizations like CUFI, Christians United for Israel, have done wonderful things as they've polled their younger constituents. They're less on fire about Israel, in the same way that Jewish Americans, the younger generation, let's say 40 or 35 and younger, have less of a connection. That
Mhm.
is the trend worldwide.
Yeah.
And it just underscores the fact, for those of us who believe that things are coming to a sort of finale, if you will.
Are you saying that everything is going to be focused on Zion, on Zionism?
The irony is, it's all about Israel. Everything that happens in the world or is going to happen in the world is all about Israel. And it's the classic, is you is or is you ain't my constituency.
Well, I wrote a couple of weeks ago, and as I was writing it, I was like, wow, this is obvious. We've been talking a little bit about the Ezekiel 37 and the two sticks, and all the prophecies regarding that. And so you stop and think about it. Is everything that's happening in the world, is it about that chapter? But for many people, that would be too simplistic. But
It's yeah.
it is. I believe that everything that's happening in the world is happening for the purpose of that chapter, the ending of that chapter specifically, which is one family coming back together under one God with one Torah in one place.
It's interesting. Um, I an old friend had been in touch, kind of a good acquaintance, let's say, challenging me on something that they were told that I said. By the way, that kind of interaction happens to me all the time.
Yeah. I
But
heard you said this.
yeah,
No.
but what this was that ultimately Russia's invasion of Ukraine is all about Israel. And they're like, how do you figure? Now, it's not as simple as the fact that Ukraine's President Zelensky keeps throwing Israel under the bus. Why doesn't Israel negotiate? Why doesn't Israel pressure Putin? What? Okay. But it's a fact of, look at the way this is playing out. Look at the way the world is once again conceivably on the brink of World War III. Look at the way that once again the discussion of the use of nuclear weapons. Look at the fact that the government, the city government of New York has created a video of what to do if a nuclear weapon hits New York. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember stuff like that from when I was a little kid.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. They
this
were
is,
telling you that if you see this mushroom cloud, get under your desk. And it's like,
yeah,
I don't think that's gonna work.
yeah, duck and cover. Yeah.
Let me disagree with you one more time, just because we can occasionally. That I don't think we're on the brink of World War III.
Oh, no. But it's the psychology that people are
Yeah.
talking about this, where Russia is threatening.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I see. I think we're already there, but it hasn't been declared.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, it's already there. And it's not, because if you look at war as just the concept of bullets flying, okay, we're not there. But if you look at it from
Right.
technological, political, socio-economic, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We're already there.
It's similar and can be related to the Cold War, where world at it's interesting as I share about modern Israeli history with people, and even things that have happened in their lifetimes are totally unaware of, clueless actually. I bring up they were like, wait a minute, So where did Syria and Egypt get all this Soviet weaponry for the Yom Kippur War in 1973? And, why did America, it was all America versus the Soviet Union, with other things, thrown
Yeah.
in. Anyway,
No. To quote Josh Waller again, there's a line in the sand. Where are you going to stand?
that's it. That's it. It's really straightforward.
Yeah,
It's very straightforward.
it is. It is. All right. Hey, you are heading out to the airport and then
Yep.
to Colorado, the
Yep.
beautiful mountains of Colorado. With you'll be with Bill and Rebecca for a little
Yes.
bit of time, and then back to the south where it's real humid. Not just Texas humid. Yeah, you might want to bring. I've got a snorkel I can send you because you might need it.
I'll tell you, but from Colorado, I go to Mississippi, speaking at that Temple conference. They just announced yesterday that they're actually going to live stream it for people who want to subscribe, which is great. So people who can't travel will be able to, to listen in, which will be great. Anyway, and then from there, I go to DeRidder, Louisiana, with Pastor Joe Amo, and then up to Nueva York. And but I'm trying to stall going back to Israel, not for me, but for y'all. Why? Since I came to America, gas prices have been dropping. You've noticed that?
That's true.
And you're wondering why that happened.
Okay, so for all of those of you that are enjoying the lower gas prices, maybe you want to go to kolyahuda.com and send a little bit of that savings Hanok's way.
Would be appreciated.
Also pay for a little travel there. And yeah, DeRidder, Louisiana. I mean, where can you go once you've gone to DeRidder? It's time to leave.
Sure enough.
All right. See ya.
Take care. Bye-bye.